Alright, hello. You got your ideas, some of your characters, you got a whole world built. Can we please start talking about actual story, you ask? Yes, we can. Today, I am here to talk to you about generating plots for your comic, and I'll be talking about some key things to keep in mind, the main kinds of plots you can create, and a little on managing the size of your story. Not much on that. So, alright, let's begin. When it comes to generating plots, it typically comes from the same sort of places as generating characters, ideas, worlds, etc. I typically think of plots as sort of my very last step in the initial ideation phase of comics, though it doesn't always have to be the case, and for you, it might be completely different. You might want to do plots first. I just get bored if I go plot first, if that makes sense. Why I personally like to work on it last, some of the reasons behind that is because what happens in your story is usually a result of what your characters do, or a result of world building and tensions created through culture and such. Like, there's a bit of push and pull to it. Sometimes making a plot work involves changing a character, though I frequently find that characters are more likely to change my plot than the other way around. And it's just easier to make things happen with stuff to make them happen with. But what is a good plot, and what are you even supposed to be making when you are generating plot ideas? A character is a very simple to identify story element. World building, same way. It's very physical, very easy to be like, that is a world, that is a character. But in order to make plot, you need to be aware of what counts as plot in the first place. When you're thinking of the sorts of plots that carry stories, you're typically looking for conflicts that can splinter off into many different problems. Different kind of little sub-problems created by the initial problem. Like, meaning you're looking for problems that are not easy to be solved. I'll do a whole video on this later on in the challenge. I'll probably do a lot of videos on these concepts of building off of your plots, but major plots can be broken up into 4 types of plots, using the acronym LACE. Other versions of this acronym include MICE by Orson Scott Card and MACE, which is, I think, what Mary Robinette Kowal uses now. But they all mean the same thing. LACE is the way I like to say it. So each letter in LACE represents a type of plot that you can use, and those plots are location plots, answer plots, character plots, and event plots. So when you're generating ideas, you can easily look at these categories and start making ideas. So let's go more in depth using our Arctic Western vampire story that I've been randomly putting into these videos as our basis for generating plots. So first is your location plot. A location plot is simply a plot about reaching a location. They're a journey. Very simple D&D style plot here. And in the case of our vampire story, this could be about a vampire character leaving the desert before sunrise. There's a little bit of conflict built in. There doesn't have to be. Usually when you're trying to leave a place, it's pretty easy to put obstacles in the way of leaving said place. The next type of plot is then a answer plot. Answer plots are about finding an answer to a question. These are typically mysteries. Any question you want to answer will make for a good story, whether that's a personal character question, like, how did I end up as a werewolf? How did I get into this situation? I have no memory of it. There's a very easy basis for a answer plot. More obvious questions could be like, hey, why is everyone suddenly dying? What is the cause of this? See, those are answer plots. Just have a question that you want answered. That is an answer plot. The next is a character plot. Character plots are about characters either learning to accept themselves or making a change within themselves. So you start off with a character that wants something, is motivated to want something. In order to get that thing, they have to either change or accept, I think, is character plot. I'll definitely go more in depth with character plots later because they're more subtle, interesting plots. You're basically always going to be dealing with character plots. It's rare that you aren't dealing with a character plot. So for our vampire story, it could be a loner werewolf that rolled into town, and he's either going to learn that he's meant to be a loner, or he's going to change and make friends and realizes the loner life isn't for him. So I'll go deeper in this, like I said, but that's a character plot. It's about character progression. And the final plot type is a event plot. Event plots are about big events happening that change the status quo of your story. The story then follows about restoring said status quo or restoring a new status quo. It's sort of about the ash settling after a big explosion, basically. So let's go back to our answer plot for a sec, where I was talking about everyone dying and us wanting to know the answer as to why that is happening. That is an answer plot. A event plot is about everyone suddenly dying and the character wanting to stop that, or learning to accept that this is the new way of life and that we're all going to just be vampires now. So that's your event plot. Big thing happens and you need to resolve the conflict caused by it. And I think that kind of brings me into an important point about all of this, and it is my final point, and it is that you aren't going to have a single plot type. You're going to generate tons of these, and you're going to want one of each, if not like at least 3, if you're talking about a bigger story, or at the very least you're going to want to have multiple character arcs, or you're going to want to have multiple events or questions. And there's going to be subplots as well, but I'm just talking about your major plots, which you're going to be generating at the beginning of your story. The only cases where you're going to have one plot is if you are doing a short story, in which case I would definitely urge you to do 1 or 2 of these and not do many more. If you're talking about just having like a 20-page story, you're not going to want to do 3 of these, because each of these plot arcs that you add are going to exponentially inflate your comic page count. They're very large, and I think the most important thing to realize about these plot arcs is all the ones that you set in motion at the very beginning of your story will end at the very end of your story. And like I said, in future videos, I'm going to talk about how you sustain these plots and how you keep them being exciting while you continue with like 500 pages between the beginning and end. Middles are hard. We'll discuss all of that. And like I said in my previous videos, think about every possible event, character, question, and location story. Think about all of them and generate as many as you can. It's important to remember, like I said, that the more you add, the bigger your story is going to get. So you are going to have to trim things down in the end, but it's good to have things to trim down so you get to pick your favorites and leave those other plots aside to repurpose at a later time if you still like them. But you don't want to get your story being too big. I'm going to link to a video I did a while back on scope, because I put a nice formula in my video on scope, and this formula will help you be able to calculate the estimated page count of your comic book. If you just put in whatever elements you have for your story, you put those in to the formula, you'll get a rough estimate of how long your story is going to be. So I'll link to that. That's good. Yeah, and once you have all your ideas, I think it's time to start cutting things down, and that brings us to my next 2 videos that will be going on next week, and they are about main characters and outlines. Yay! The exciting part. We're still not writing our stories yet, guys, but we're getting close. Alright, I'm gonna go. It's Sunday, and I'm losing my voice, apparently, right at the end. My voice is done. This is a plot progression. Alright, see you guys.